With arms open wide apart, we welcome you to an amazing episode for you to savor. Our motto of bringing out the best of the business's world before you has always been thriving. As the season proceeds, we are back again to entertain you and quench your thirst for success. So, hello, namaste, sat sri akal, adab, and welcome to yet another season and a pristine episode of our podcast series, Pe-Charcha 2.0, relaying directly from NIT-Bhopal, presented by Entrepreneurship Cell. Hi, I'm Chaitanya Sharma, your host for today. This time, we have with us one of the brightest minds in the country, one of the contenders to impress all five sharks and got his name in the top 10 pitches of the show. He showed us when your idea is as brilliant as his with his exquisite Altor smart helmets, which is bringing about its revolution in the field of riding security. The very young, the very versatile. Ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to have with us Mr. Shamik Guha. Hi, sir. We are delighted
Thank
to
you,
have you here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. And yeah, really, thank you so much for the kind words, man. Those were really very kind of you. But yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
So, sir, without further ado, let's move towards our first question. Yes, sir. So, sure, Shark Tank India has created a certain revolution among the youth of the society and brought the topic of entrepreneurship at the dinner tables of every household. So, sir, how do you interpret Shark Tank working as a catalyst and what impact does it generate among the general public?
Sure. So, before I even directly answer this, I must tell you a small point that, I myself am a huge fan of this whole Shark Tank, the whole global franchise that exists, right? The likes of Dragon's Den, Shark Tank US and Australia, of course. Been a major fan of this, and the pitches really helped us in our early days as well. It still helps us, but it's something that's very close to the heart. So that's the context about it now. When we first got to know about the show, we saw an ad and then we started applying, and then the selection process happened. So we never really had any expectation. I don't think even the show producers expected the show to really kick off so well and get such a massive boost in terms of viewership and experience. Now, if you now look back, because the first season has happened, and we can very safely conclude that this show is going to stay. That is absolutely for sure, because people loved it. Like, people went crazy about this entire, because they have done a good job in Indianizing it to a good degree, right? It doesn't directly look like, of course, it's inspired from a foreign themed show, but there's a decent amount of Indian elements in it. So, number one, definitely we can conclude that the show is here to stay. And if you take a look back, right, like after this first season has happened, why it got so popular and everything. So I think the first, if you have Shark Tank as a product, you would see that the timing of the product was insane, right? So over the last couple of years, the Indian whole ecosystem, the whole startup ecosystem has been really booming, like with money coming in, everyday newspaper headlines, exits, billion-dollar valuation and everything. And people already had that sort of an aspiration factor to it. So over the last 3-4 years, we are seeing how entrepreneurship is becoming more mainstream, how people are, more comfortable. The very fact that you and I are having this conversation today. So I think that's a very big step towards this direction. And Shark Tank has really, sort of like added gasoline to this whole fire, right? So it has really boomed it up. So definitely the timing of the show was massive. It came right at a juncture when India was just about to ride this curve of growth in terms of entrepreneurship. And definitely they did a brilliant job in, as I said, Indianizing the show, bringing in desi elements, the fights, right, amongst the sharks. People thoroughly enjoy that, because at the end of the day, it's an entertainment show. So people need those elements in. So definitely all of this combined together has, in my opinion, made Shark Tank so good the first season. And we can definitely say that, the show is here to stay for sure.
So we can say that Shark Tank has not only inspired people, but has given a true image of what a true entrepreneur is.
Absolutely.
So it has definitely played a crucial role. So as everyone knows, Shark Tank India has started registrations for its second season. And it's not just about those 15-minute pitches that are shown to all of us on television. So the entire process starts months ago. And sir, we are curious to know about that particular journey and some of your personal insights regarding this process, like how you get into Shark Tank and so and so.
Sure, absolutely. So I'll just like to apologize that I can only share my perspective and my journey in this, right, for Altors. I won't be able to generalize it. So what happened for us is basically, as I told you, so we were like Google, Facebook, all these giants in today's world are very good at throwing ads to you for what you've searched for or what you're related to, right? So that they've really cracked the code there. So us being in the space, and like we have started this journey from around 2019, so it's been a good 3 years already. And because we were in the space, we keep searching for materials and stuff. So this came as a normal ad. So the reason I want to put it out is, do not get intimidated by that. Even the people who are checking you, they know that this is very common. So the entire judgment happens on how you can deal with the situation, live, how well you can handle it. Say if 10 people are getting very scared with the likes and everything, how can two of them just handle it better? That's what makes the difference. It's very simple.
Yes, sir.
Now, of course, if we talk about the shooting, you very correctly said the 15-minute is just a cut off from the entire pitch show that is showcased. So for us, I mean, the pitches can go from anywhere between half an hour, 45 minutes to 1.5 hours, 2 hours, completely depending on the situation. For us, easily it was around one hour to 1 hour 15 minutes, what I remember. So that's where the entire game is played out. So when you enter and when you stand there, again, it's a very different experience than what we see on the TV or on the televised clips, because there the perspectives are different, because you're standing in front of them with the lights on your face, and it's sort of a very ethereal feeling, a very something to really cherish, and I'm sure that experience would stay with us forever, right? So I think the basic tips would be that try and keep it simple, very important, right? So why? Because if you complicate too much, it won't help. The reason is you have no clue what questions will be asked over there, right? That is entirely on what those 4 people who are sitting, or 5 people who are sitting as the judges or as the sharks, what they think at that point of time. So that is not something you can control, and the best way is to not put too much thought there. You should be really sound at is, you should know the market very well, you should know the product very well, of course, because that is expected from you. It's something that you are building and you're trying to do. And definitely a good research on the numbers. That is very important. Like, what are your unit economics? What are the revenue targets? How much have you sold? And I felt like, because I also watched the episodes again and again, at the end, it all comes down to how good of a market understanding the entrepreneur has. And of course, how serious he is about it, right? That's what it eventually boils down to. I mean, the questions can be 20 different ones, but the crux of it still comes down to somehow the sharks trying to figure out how good the market understanding is. So definitely, if that is taken care of, I feel participants would have a great chance.
So your journey is quite fascinating, and I think all those people who are out there trying for Shark Tank India Season 2, they would definitely got benefited from it.
Sure.
So moving forward, the automobile industry already has various sectors that would have given us something smart. But what led you to think of developing a smart commodity, and in particular a helmet?
Right. I think it's a very interesting question, because so before answering that, I would like to say that probably two-wheelers impact our lives the most, right? Even in today's world, when you're sitting, right? So you want to get a food ordered, you want to get your groceries delivered, you want to do anything, you want to go from point A to point B in a bike taxi. Everything, number one, is being done on two-wheelers, and in every Indian family, like, you will definitely see at least a 60 to 70% more usage of two-wheelers than four-wheelers, right? And definitely, like, this particular product, why, as you asked, a helmet, it started off from what we shared in the episode as well, that one of our very close friends had gotten into this. And not just that, I mean, that was definitely a trigger point, but even before that, like, all the co-founders in the company and all our close friends, we have definitely had someone in the family, some distant uncle, some bhaiya, koi chacha ka ladka, koi bhi hoga, someone who has faced a bike accident. And the story always comes out in most cases that what if we could have gotten the information a little earlier? Probably he could have been saved, or something could have been done earlier to him, which is very crucial. Like, after an accident, what's the most crucial aspect is how quickly that person is taken to the hospital and he's administered. That definitely got us thinking. And so why helmet in particular? That's really interesting. I mean, I think what we would say is, we definitely wanted to capture an industry or a market which has not seen any major innovation over the last 50-60 years, and that is a very core aspect of the whole biking experience, right? I mean, when we are trying to talk of safety related to two-wheelers, the first thing that comes to our mind is helmets. So definitely that is where the thought came in, that we want to integrate it inside the helmet and want to disrupt the space.
Definitely, sir. Like you saw the customer demand and you saw the market gap that helmets are not there. And this is a true, like we can say what an entrepreneur thinks about. Like what is the market gap, what is the customer demand, and the backstory is always there, which kicks the innovation in you.
Correct.
So moving forward, every startup just after its initiation is looking for an apt way for its sales and marketing. And while doing so, sometimes it's compromises with their product. They neglect the original problem statement which they were solving and look out for scaling their product on mass level. So what is your take on this? And how would you advise the entrepreneurs not to make such type of mistakes?
It is an interesting question, definitely, Chaitanya. I would say that it's definitely, I can tell you that, just having a product or just having an idea is nothing. Just having an idea is absolutely nothing, right? So people tend to over emphasize on ideas, which is absolutely crap, in my opinion. So ideas are very cheap to get. Every one of us, have had great ideas, and I'm sure, in college, because you guys are college students, engineering college students. So ideas always keep coming when you're reading about something and anything. That is not of much use. No one says that's unimportant, because that's where it starts. But it's really important the steps that are taken after that, right? So how quickly you are being able to validate, and that phase is extremely crucial. The problem you spoke about, that someone trying to take a problem and then not really sticking to the problem, rather than entirely going on, say, a revenue target or a sales target, which is extremely crucial, by the way, right? Like no company, because fundamentally, what is this? It is capitalism, as simple as that, right? Where someone is making a purchase out of something, and capitalism stands on one fundamental point, that is a month-on-month or a quarter-on-quarter growth. That has to happen. So it's like it would be wrong to sort of vilify those entrepreneurs who are chasing sales. But to answer your questions, why I said it's very interesting. So then should they then compromise the fundamental problem what had initially driven them? In my opinion, no, absolutely. And that's where the first bit of planning phase is very important, right? Where the idea sort of, starts taking shape in the form of a plan. And in that planning session, in that, like if you're a solo founder, whatever, if you have co-founders, it's really crucial you guys sit together and start framing, right? That this is what we want to do. This is the core aspect of the problem. Are people ready to pay for it? If so, how much? Who are those people? Start identifying them and start the cycle from there. So the moment what you said often happens in cases where the problem hasn't been well defined, number one. Number two, the solution isn't something the people are ready to pay for. Very, very important problem, right? So,
Yes.
like now, if people are not ready to pay for it, then of course the founders are now having to go back and tweak it, and thereby eventually there is a major shift. So I think those initial phase of consolidation would be very crucial to tackle this.
Yes, a true entrepreneur first validate the product and do the entire research and development part, and that's how a successful product comes into existence.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yes. So we have seen the pitching part on Shark Tank as well as the investment taking part also on the show only. But what happens after the show? Every startup is curious to know what the sharks bring onto the table and how the journey between the founders and the investors go hand in hand.
Sure. We chose Aman and Namita because of very strong connects, right? So for Aman, we always knew that he has experience in handling consumer electronics. He understands this segment very well. Plus with Namita, the connect happened. This was also very evident in the pitch. With Namita, the connect happened instantly once the problem was discussed, and she understood how it can be used for fleets to reduce accidents and so on. So that was the first point of choice, right? Because this also gets asked to us a lot. Some entrepreneurs, this also would be an advice that try and keep it as true as you can. Yeah, because if you mess up with the numbers, maybe you'll get the pitch there. Of course, that depends on what is your goal. If you are looking for that marketing bit, 15 minutes of clipping, you can say whatever the hell you want and just get away. But if you are actually looking for the investment after the pitch, there is an entire background process called a due diligence, which happens for any investment, right? So it happens here as well, wherein your entire company credentials, your financials and everything are checked and thoroughly sort of validated before any amount of money is being put in. And once that due diligence process completes, so for us, that due diligence process took around 1.5 months. So by end of January, we were done with that process. And then immediately for us, things went well, and there was no problem, honestly, and we immediately closed the round ASAP with them. Now, after the round closed, we personally made visits, of course, and it is safe to say that these two people are absolutely brilliant, right? Aman as a human being is a super fun person to work with. He understands the space, and he's very real. And also Namita, I think, is one of the most disciplined persons you'll ever find, right? And she's super helpful. Yeah, she's always sort of energized to how to take the next step, what help you need. So for us, it has been very good so far. Now, one thing it's worth mentioning, and I think they also appreciated when we met them and told them that we know this, that it's at the end our company, right? It's not the investor's company. It's very important to realize for any entrepreneur. If you're going for a funding round, even if sharks are coming on board, it is still you who will have to take the steps and do the work. No one, and I repeat, no one is going to do the work for you. That is the hard reality of the world. That is how it is. If someone else does the work for you, then it's not your company anymore, right? So, I mean, the point is lost entirely. So, all the major steps would still have to come from you, because the external people, they cannot make those decisions for you. So that is I see what as a major misconception in the market. The company decision makers will be us. Very simple, right? So it's our company. We'll do what we need to do to make it good. At any time, whenever we need their help, because they have very core expertise, as I told you, Aman has in the consumer electronics space and this whole, how to market a B2C product and so on, while Namita has this entire, array of connections for the fleet side, plus several other things. So we know where we need their help. All we do is simply reach out to them, and they are very happy to share the help with us. And that's how things go on.
So it is not just about the monetary fund, it is about their expertise, and we should be clear that it is our hard work which will pay off later. It is our product. Being an entrepreneur, we should know that also.
Absolutely.
Yes. So pitching your idea to a group of investors is incredibly nerve-wracking. And sir, your pitch was recognized as one of the top 10 pitches of the season. So according to you, sir, what is the exact recipe of an ideal pitch to be presented in front of a panel?
The truth is, there is no ideal recipe for this, very honestly, because it's very subjective. So what is Shark Tank? As I said, it's an entertainment program, right? That should never be taken out of the mind. So what does the success of such a show depend on? Whether the viewers who are watching it are getting entertained. That's the very important keyword, right? It's not a blunt VC pitch wherein you're going to a VC office pitching in front of 10 super, rich and intimidating people with great suits and a tie. No, that is not the case here. Here it's more of something. It would be very wrong, but you can compare it as a show like an Indian Idol. It's absolutely not similar in 99% of the ways, and I'm glad that's the case. But 1% of it definitely similar in the sense that both are entertainment shows. So now, in order to entertain the audience, usually what is needed, if we try to think, some sort of an emotion evoking has to happen, right? When it evokes an emotion in the audience, and we as Indians love to be emotional, so there is absolutely no doubt about that. Now, in order to evoke that emotion, it is supremely important that how you are doing that, right? So for us, we knew that the theme is a somber theme, right? It's definitely something related to accidents, something around that regard. So it's very crucial that you, number one, bring that energy, that, if it's something that is scary, you scare them, as simple as that. If it's something like, a very good example would be a company called Nutjob that also appeared in Shark Tank. And, they are below the belt men hygiene. So that's a very, very sort of a risky topic to work on, but the amount of humor they associate that with is brilliant. So that can be the other thing. So you make people laugh, right? Or you make someone feel very sad about something, and this is what happened, and so on. And then secondly, I think what is really crucial is to be passionate, right? Now, that is, when I say this, I realize this is not something you can sort of externally put on someone. If someone is working with a product or something that he considers his own, that passion will come out. And I think that makes a pitch really interesting. So the pitch part of it is just, I think, 2 to 3 minutes. And the rest 1 hour would be entirely them asking questions. So it's very important when you're walking down the aisle, make eye contact and smile. That is very important, right, for any sort of a good communication, because that gives the feeling to the opposite person that, okay, this is someone I can connect with, this is someone I can have a chat with, right? These are very small things. I mean, because you asked, these are coming to my mind, and definitely I think these are very important, where people don't necessarily talk about it enough. So
Yes,
these
sir.
small things really make the difference. If all of these go well together, you have them hooked in the first 2 to 3 minutes. Then the rest will follow. Then the rest, of course, doesn't just depend on your emotion, but you will also have to know the numbers and the market.
B2B space, business to business space, is something which we as students and many others as young entrepreneurs are very less exposed to. So, sir, we don't know the risks and in profitability associated with the B2B model. About like what are the revenue potentials of B2B model?
All right, all right. I think it's a very, as you said very correctly, I think as students or as maybe young professionals, we don't necessarily get much exposure to B2B. Why? Because that's not a consumer facing thing, very simple. Now, B2B definitely has a lot of potential to scale. It is definitely like, say, if you're a product company, which sort of deals with anything related to hardware or, some sort of a physical product angle, then how like the way to look at it is definitely like, if you are going for a B2C side, you would have to set up an entire chain of after sales services, which is the most important thing for any product bit. However, if you are, say, doing it for a B2B client, it's very comparatively simpler. Why? Because the products are going to one location, and all returns or all sort of, repairing would happen from that spot. So in order for any student to work on any B2B solution, I think the most important part is they should have some idea on the market, right? Someone, usually I relate to this. Why? Because I'm also from an engineering college, and I'm assuming most of your audience would also be from this middle class bracket, where we have very little exposure to anything other than our very, stupid curriculum and those very basic things which mean nothing in the real world, very honestly, right? So we are not taught about how businesses are separate, what's a B2B, what's a B2C. Say a B2C problem is very easy, comparatively easier to understand. Why? Because you have faced it every day. But a B2B problem would require some degree of expertise. I genuinely understand and I agree that for college students, relating to B2B businesses or figuring out which are the gaps in which businesses is challenging, simply because of the curriculum and the way we are taught things and the sort of way our exposure happens. So usually in India, it's recommended that, if you're coming out of college, you at least do a job for some years in a specific industry and try to understand that industry inside out. That is very crucial. The moment you do that, you would find every industry has some loopholes, and then it would provide you the opportunity to plug your solution.
Definitely, sir. So this session went really smoothly, and we are now moving to a part of the show where we will try to understand our guests better by making them go through a series of questions that they will be answering very rapidly. Without any further delay,
this sort of gives me a coffee.
Let's move forward. Yes, sir. So, sir, let's move forward in the section of the show presenting to you Helmets On. So, sir, since you belong to Bengali background, and we are having some catchy safety slogans that you need to translate to Bengali for all of us.
Okay.
So, sir, are you ready?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. So, sir, the first slogan is, be a safety hero, score an accident zero.
Okay, be a safety hero, score an accident zero. Okay, that is great. Okay. Wait, I'm having to do some crazy translations in the head, which,
No problem, sir.
So, yeah, definitely, like I can say, সুরক্ষার হিরো হিসেবে নিজেকে তুলে ধরো, অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট আরো কম করো। I'll keep it very simple. I don't know whether this is the exact answer, but yeah, it can be.
Really amazing. So we are having one more slogan.
Sure.
Safety comes in a can. I can, you can, we can be safe.
Great. Okay. Safety comes in a can. সুরক্ষার পরিধিতে আমি তুমি আমরা সকলে সমানভাবে ফিট করতে পারি, মানে ফিট করতে পারি ইজ আ ভেরি লং ওয়ে। আই উড হ্যাভ লাভড ফর আ বেঙ্গলি বিট, বাট আই উইল স্টিক টু দিস। সো সুরক্ষার পরিধিতে আমি তুমি আমরা সকলে একসাথে ফিট করতে পারি। That would
Wow, sir.
that would be, yeah. I don't know whether are you a Bengali too, Chetan? No.
Sir, unfortunately not.
Okay, that's fair. Then
But that sounds so amazing. Like you can keep it in your promotions of Altor smart helmets.
Or
Also.
if my marketing head doesn't kill me after hearing this, then definitely I'm keeping this for sure.
Okay, sir. So we are now having one quick one-word reply questions for you, sir. Where you would have to choose between riding the helmet on or riding the helmet off. So basically here helmet on means dodging that situation in particular, and helmet off means like you want to face that situation and you want to be into that. So are you ready, sir?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, sir. So what would you do when you spot someone you don't want to meet?
Okay, helmet on for sure. Helmet on, absolutely.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
So when you find delicious food while you are on a diet?
I definitely need to start working on my diet. That tells me that. And then, helmet off. Yeah, helmet off. I love to eat, so yeah, helmet off for sure.
So me too.
Yeah.
So in future, if you find a better product than yours, then what would you do?
Definitely helmet off. Definitely. So it's very important to also, acknowledge what are the other good products and learn from them and make ourselves better. That's a very simple goal.
Indeed, sir. So when you find unavoidable guests at your place?
Helmets on, always. Like look for the best way to escape. Yeah.
So what would you do when your neighbor asks to borrow your Altor helmet?
Helmets off, definitely. Yeah, it's at least spreading word of mouth. I'm happy. That's just it.
So nice. So helmet on and off is over now, and we are having one more question. Would you rely more on a sports helmet or Altor while playing cricket?
Great. Okay. Well, I would love to, like, in terms of a safety, I don't think both have any difference. So it will still be the same. So if I have to play cricket with an Altor, I'll probably not sure how comfortable I'll be. So, just to facilitate the game, I would go with the cricket helmet. But in terms of safety, I don't think it has any difference.
Before we conclude this episode, I'm very curious to know, you began your journey in the field of entrepreneurship quite early. And we all know success doesn't come overnight. So, sir, what were the mistakes that you made, and what advice would you give to the youngsters who are willing to do the same?
We can have a separate 1-hour episode just on the things we did wrong and the mistakes. I think there are way too much of them. But I love to talk about mistakes and things that someone has done wrong, because again, I feel it's not spoken enough. We always celebrate the good deeds, the successes, which I'm very much against. I mean, not against celebrating people who are doing well, but at the same time very against of just focusing on that and not focusing on the 98%, which is quote unquote the failures. Now, as an advice, so again, I don't think I'm in a position to advise anyone, but still, if you ask me for my life experiences, whatever it has been, and what I learned from there, so mostly college students, right? I can speak of engineering students because I myself was one. The first problem is people's expectation from college. That's where the problem begins, number one. Now, people expect college would teach them so much, or college would give them such a brilliant, worldview knowledge that tomorrow they'll step out of the college and they are the new heroes of the world. Everyone is sort of coming to them with garlands and everything. That's definitely a part of every engineer thinks that. But that is so wrong. That is just so wrong. And I cannot stress on how wrong that is. You have to set your your expectations right? So what is college important for? Number one, college is important for degree. Number two, the peer network, your friends, your colleagues, your batch. That is entirely what college use is. In today's world, I can safely say, and I don't want to disrespect anyone or mean anyone, like mean bad anything bad to anyone, but The colleges in today's world cannot keep up with the pace at which the world is changing. It is simply not possible. Even the best colleges, right, in the country cannot do that. I have friends from IIT Bombay, IIT Kharagpur, where we discuss like on several topics and what's going on around us and everything. I myself did a 6-month internship in IIT Bombay, which really changed my thinking process as well. There I got to understand this, that college is not something that will teach you your life's lessons, your job skills, and you will go about your life in a very happy, smooth, calm way. No, college, number one, is important as your brand, something that will give you a credibility factor, and your peer network. That is it. What will stay for every engineering student, whoever is watching this podcast, is your friends, nothing else, right? So first point would be, set your expectations about college very right. What are you looking to get from college? The moment that is clear, you would now know that in order to have the skills and the knowledge, you would have to invest your own time and take your own efforts. No teacher, no lecture session, no exam can give you that, honestly. Like in today's world, all it takes is a click, like a simple search online, in order to acquire any skill and to become good at it. So if the college expectation is clear, then the student would be able to focus on, what are the skills now I should acquire. So people should definitely spend time to acquire one skill that they like. That is extremely important. And when I say skill, I mean, again, I'm sorry, sitting on the front bench and taking running notes is not a skill, right? So that's what students often forget. Skill is something for which someone will pay you. Now, as Indians, as what our curriculum provides, we have little or no idea on how a business, a transaction works, what makes someone pay for something, and once you take the money, what sort of responsibility comes on you. We have very little idea, apart from people who have some family backgrounds in business, right? A huge majority, 90 to 95% of engineering students have no clue about this. What are the two that I said? Number one, get your expectations clear about college. Number two would be, acquire a skill for which someone is ready to pay for you. Definitely you should be acquiring that. Number three, get yourself to some exposure on a business. Now, when I say this, it can be some internship at a startup. It can even be working at a McDonald's or a KFC, which in Indian culture, it's so sad that these things are still, looked down upon and all of those things. But that's so stupid, right? Because the moment someone does that, the amount of learning he gets is, at least in my opinion, 10 times more than the entire 4-year course. Get some exposure on how the real world functions, how money transfer happens, why someone pays, when someone pays, what are the expectations and how you need to manage them. And lastly would be, I think, definitely like build good memories. That is the most important thing, right? So after college ends and you are there in this real world where everything is, very cutthroat, everyone is trying to undercut you, get on top of you, and that's exactly how it's going to be. It's going to change. So then these memories will, make you feel good. You will have good friends who will be with you throughout your life. So definitely spend time on that, and also try to figure out which are the people with whom, if you interact, you feel more energetic. So this is sort of an energy upliftment that you feel by speaking with a few people. Whereas by speaking with a few people, you feel your energy is drained entirely. You feel very low. So that should give you an idea that these are not the people I want to interact with. Right? So a person's search should always be to be in circles where he feels more energetic, not less energetic than what he started out with. Very important. This is the biggest time a student will get, these 4 years, right? So with these 4 years, a student can really achieve a lot because they have the time, they have the energy, and they have the learning ability. So yeah, I feel if basic these things are taken care of, things can be much better for the engineering students.
Yes, sir. So it is not just about the mistakes. It is about whether we are reflecting upon those mistakes, whether we are learning from them, and then only a successful product, a successful person we can get from this.
Very true.
So now we move towards the conclusion of today's episode. And sir, I would like to say that this podcast has been truly enlightening for me. The wise words of yours had a deep impact and have me thinking about many insightful ideas. I'm sure our audience will be taking away this invaluable experience you were kind enough to share with us today.
Thank you, Chaitanya.
Thank you for lending your ears This was your addresser, Mr. Shamik Guha, a Shark Tank qualifying contestant and a successful entrepreneur. Good luck. Have a nice day. This is Team Isel signing off from the station Pe-Charcha 2.0.